Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup this morning. And it promises to be an interesting day of trade simply because it's not a one-way move that the bulls necessarily have in store for them as far as cues go. And forget SGX Nifty alone, I'm just talking about the global cues as well. Let's first analyze all of that. So the US markets first come up on your screen, and maybe they retreated a marginal bit, but the futures are still in the green, and therefore there's a bit of a dichotomy about what the US markets would ideally lead the Asian markets to do. So as you can see, a flattish to a marginally a close marginally in the red, but as I said, the futures are doing okay. It's not just that, it's also maybe because of COVID reasons, maybe because of a lot of other reasons, including the balance sheets of the Asian economies. But if you just look at what the Asian markets have done in the last in the recent period vis-a-vis the developed markets or the markets in the West, Asian peers have really lagged what the Western markets have done. Now, this is, of course, the white line is the MSCI Asia Pacific Index, which is lagging, and the blue line is the MSCI World Index, which of course includes the larger portion of the developed markets because of the weightages. And clearly, there has been a bit of a lag. Yes, the China crackdown also, but nevertheless, we know that even compared to the US markets, even Indian markets, even though we are way at highs, are not exactly the same line of performance. So let's see if there's a bit of a pickup. We've seen some signs of that. Let's see if there's a bit of a pickup out there because of the easing strains, so to say, or the impact of the strains, so to say. Having said that, while Nikkei was marginally in the green, Asia, I think, is mixed bag. Some indices in the red, some indices in the green. So in the SGX Nifty 2 would indicate that will come up on your screen next, and would probably indicate that the start is likely to be flattish to maybe marginally higher or marginally lower, if you will. So let's wait and figure out what happens. The SGX Nifty will come up on your screen next. As I said, a flattish start anticipated and not surprising. The key is yesterday we had this big move, right? I mean, and you know, there's this whole image that is going around, right? That Mera Bharat Mahan, because of the fact that Sensex and the Nifty did what they did. We administered 1.22 or 1.26 crore dosages, which is fabulous, right? Which is just amazing. So, and then the GDP numbers came out as well. But if you just look at the MOE function in trade yesterday, and that will come up on your screen next, it'll give you a sense of what the broader market performance was also like. And you have to admit that the market breadth did not give you any scares. So 317 advances to 183 declines, 3:2 is the market breadth on the Nifty 500 that you would take on any given day. So you wouldn't really say that, oh, why this is happening. Now, Infibeam, I mean, that would raise an eyebrow too, but there was news for Infibeam as well. Some acquisition news which will impact Infibeam. But aside of that, Mahindra CI had positive news, up about 7%. We've seen what's happening to some of the coffee companies as well. And we were talking about how CCL might get impacted because it doesn't get impacted because of coffee prices, but coffee prices do impact Tata Coffee. That one was up. Airtel had a big phenomenal move, right? 7% higher. And technical charts say this is not the end of it. Let's wait and watch. IEX did really well. And of course, the companies which had to be punished, the likes of AU Small Finance Bank or some of the others, did get punished as well. So interesting move, but market breadth in favor of the decline, in favor of the advances. Now, what's the trade setup there for life? The big release, the GDP number was very good, but it wasn't a surprise to my mind. In fact, the Bloomberg estimates were 21% growth. It came in at 20%. So very strong number, no surprises. So therefore, I believe that you might actually see a churn around the record highs today. We are right up there. You might see some stocks moving in and out between the red and the green. So you'll probably see a bit of a churn, a bit of a, how do I say, steadiness at these levels, or maybe a bit of a corrective move too. You never know. Just that the risk reward is not necessarily in favor. It was in favor 3 days back when we had spoken about this. Not that we are timing the market at all. I'm frankly no one to be able to time the market, but I'm just saying that just looking at the trends and speaking to a few dealers, the market may churn around the record highs. Q1 GDP, as I said, lacks any surprises for equities. So keep that at the back of your mind. And auto sales surveys suggest very weak growth for two-wheelers and strong growth for CV makers. So as the numbers start coming out today, it'll be very interesting to see what happens to an Ashok Leyland, what happens to a Bajaj Auto, what happens to TVS, and what happens to Hero Moto. I think all of these could be firmly in focus today. The numbers, the FI data was very, very strong, 3881 crores. Typically, or usually, FI numbers being very large augurs well for Nifty Bank and Nifty IT. Let's wait and watch if that is indeed the case. And a couple of IPOs open today, Vijaya Diagnostic Center and Ami Organics, right in the thick of what is really working well. Hospital stroke diagnostic stocks, and yesterday Thyrocare was up about 6%, but that notwithstanding, Vijaya Diagnostic Center and Ami Organics, we all know what these specialty chemical, stroke chemical companies have done. And this one, or pharma, pseudo pharma companies have done. This one could be no different. Let's wait and watch. It'll be interesting to see the interest that these two derive in the next 3 days. So interesting, close to the week for the IPO street as well. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. What about stocks to watch? A bunch of them, bunch of stocks today. I've not been able to cover all. I'm bringing to you some that I think are important. So Maruti Suzuki to start off with. The big giant, the big elephant in the room says that 60% production cut in September. Their statement says that owing to a supply constraint of electronic components due to the semiconductor shortages, they are looking at volume production across both locations. 40% of normal production. That's a 60% gash. Now, this does not worry you about the semiconductor situation, then I don't know what will. Yes, you could argue that most experts are saying that the semiconductor shortage will normalize in the second half. My question to you is, do you know it for sure? And if not, do you take this guidance by Maruti for the time being, however short a period it may be? And I don't know if it's a short period or a long period, really. I haven't read that. But this should tell you a thing or two about what could happen. Now, I would reckon under normalcy that Maruti Suzuki will start off lower today. Let's wait and watch. BEL, the companies, I think the news that came out was that the Indian Navy signed a contract for supply of the first indigenous anti-drone system with BEL. They're doing a number of such tie-ups, number of announcements that have come in the last few weeks for Bharat Electronics. Could be very interesting to see what this one does today or over the course of the next few. Now, three or four other stocks in focus. Now, one of them is Vedanta. Board meet today for dividend. Now, the bulls have been hoping for a large dividend. Numbers of 18 rupees or thereabouts have already floated so many times. I think I saw a news bit yesterday which said that one of the global funds, Oaktree, has exempted Vedanta Resources from some payments that they had to do. And therefore, maybe Vedanta India does not need to release a very high dividend. Time will tell. It's too speculative. And in a group which is known to surprise a number of times, let's wait and watch what happens. Sun Pharma Advanced Research, the fundraising meet is today. Let's see. They've done a fundraising announcement recently. So let's wait and watch what happens. Speaking of fundraising, from HDFC Life to that announcement was very interesting. Let's wait and watch what happens to that one too. ONGC, they've commenced production from deep water gas well at KGDWN. Remember, Oil India, viewers, remember 3 days ago, we spoke about this whole gas price revision uptick scheduled for October first week, and how therefore upstream companies in gas might become in focus. Incrementally, any kind of news around gas production and therefore tariff revisions later on will only help the likes of ONGC and Oil India. I think the OPEC Plus announcements, if any, which will come as well, might be net neutral. It'll be interesting to see what happens to ONGC in the session today. And AU Small Finance Bank, the big stock which tanked yesterday, I'm just putting out an alert. There's a con call at 8:30 a.m. today. So I think there'll be clarity emerging before 9:15 any which ways. But if you are wanting to trade or are trading in a Small Finance Bank, keep in mind the con call is scheduled for 8:30 a.m. today. You might want to watch out for updates for this one. Mumbai-based realty names. There's a Knight Frank report that came out yesterday. So I'm merely quoting what they have said. And they've said, and I quote, or rather bring out that excerpt, that the Mumbai August 2021 registrations have equaled the 10-year best for the month of August. And 92% of all of these registrations worth of fresh sales. And therefore, the likes of Oberoi Realty, Godrej Properties, macro tech developers, all of them are in focus. So do watch out for the Mumbai-based real estate plays. Watch out for all of them. I'm just citing three. There are a bunch of other names, right? I mean, uh, the, the, the what have you, all the companies, including Prestige, which is actually made a foray into Bombay as well. Not that they benefit out of this, because I think the existing ones benefit out of this, but this could be pretty stellar. So let's wait and watch what happens. Then I'll watch out for all the ethanol plays once again. I think Nitin Gadkari yesterday in a webinar or a conference from Elara Securities, if I'm not wrong, has said that it will be mandatory for automakers to offer biofuel vehicles in 6 months. I think it sounds unbelievable, but apparently the minister has said that 100% biofuel options will become mandatory, and they will make sure that it happens, because of course it's also lucrative for the consumer. 1 liter of ethanol as at whatever 65 rupees, 1 liter of petrol at 110 rupees. So lucrative for the consumer, great for the import bill, all of that. Now, can the auto industry live up to this? I don't know. But the minister has said this, and therefore, the Praj Industries, the Global Spirits, all the sugar companies, therefore, all stay in focus. Just keep these stocks at the back of your mind. A brokerage note, CLSA has come out with a note on PIRAMAL Enterprises. So they've initiated coverage, of course, with the target price of slightly above 2,900. The SOTP valuations of both the pharma business and the lending business lead them to believe that the 2,960 target price is achievable. Outperform, they believe that the DHFL acquisition is expected to enlarge the loan book quite significantly for and improve the return on equity as well for Piramal. So therefore, do watch out for this stock as well. Viewers, I'll also watch out for JSPL because of the fundraising, the perpetual bonds issue led fundraising, or Havells and Voltas because of the Credit Suisse note, wherein they have upped the target prices, I believe, for Voltas and retained the outperform rating on Havells. So both of these stocks would be in focus to my mind. And just one quick update. I think there's a lot of WhatsApp forwards going about how, because of the new margin norms, BTST trades are not possible here henceforth. I think that's fake. That's just bunkum. So please don't believe that. Check with your broker if you have to. I would suggest, from whatever checks that I have done, that BTST trades are possible. So keep that at the back of your mind. Speaking of, by the way, trading, the FNO additions would be very interesting. These happen from October 1st, by the way, but 8 new stocks get into FNO additions. And everybody on the street is wondering if Delta Corp, if Persistent, if Abbott can get into FNO. What is stopping Avenue Supermarts from getting into FNO? I think that is something that everybody will be watching out for. Let's wait and watch. Last but not the least, viewers, I want to leave you with a thought. If you've been wondering about what to do in the steel cycle, whether it's past its prime or is it still continuing, and what are the nuances out there, I think that's what we are going to do today at 10 a.m. We are going to be talking to Shishagiri Rao of JSW Steel. This conversation is not on JSW Steel. This conversation on Talking Point is about what is the steel cycle telling us. Remember, in December last year, he came and he said that people are getting unduly worried. The cycle will last into 2021. It has lasted thus far, the first half. It'll be interesting to hear from him. What is it that he's seeing in the second half, arguably the next 18 months? You want to invest or trade in steel stocks? I think it's a conversation that you might want to listen to. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup today, viewers. Have a safe, profitable day ahead. If you're stepping out, please stay master.